It's the Punjab chapter, Varandeep.
Mm.
So type where you are and something you're conscious of having felt or feeling at the moment as you came into the room, because this is a session on EQ for AI. So I felt mildly anxious today when I was thinking, ooh, what exactly should I say to this crowd of technologists? What am I going to put in my presentation? So that's a very honest, mildly anxious feeling. No one's putting a feeling in the chat. Come on, everyone. Ghaziabad, Nagpur, Punjab. Anbala. I've never heard of Anbala. I'm just going to be very honest, Lalit.
Yeah, Ambala is closer to Chandigarh.
So I know Chandigarh.
Mhm.
Kolkata, Chennai, Mumbai. I've been to all these places. Anbala, not yet, but I've been to Chandigarh. Nagpur, near Mumbai, right? Nagpur, where it's famous
Yeah,
for
yeah.
tigers. Okay. Very good. I'm not going to say that one at Anant. Tiruvananthapuram. Is it? It's a hard one. Ahmedabad, yes, excellent. Bangalore, Nagpur. Oh, to Nagpur. Excellent.
Mhm.
How long do we wait, and how long does
Yeah,
everyone have today?
yeah, yeah.
Andy?
So we will start. I'll just quickly introduce you. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So, today we have Andrea with us. Andrea is a former global marketing leader in tech organizations, turned executive coach and educator. She supports CXO leaders and teams to improve performance, navigate change, and lead with greater clarity and impact. She has lived across Asia and Europe for close to 30 years, working with companies such as Bharti Group, Amazon, Atlassian, and among many others. And now, today, we are going to discuss why EQ is important while we are building AI based tools. And IQ can give us powerful algorithms. However, EQ ensures that we build responsible, inclusive, and human centered AI tools. So, without much further ado, I will hand it over to Andrea. And Andrea, we are extremely delighted and honored to have you as our speaker today. Over to you.
Thank you, Varandeep. I'm extremely honored and delighted to be with you. So when I relooked at this title, EQ for AI, why EQ matters more than IQ, I thought, uh-oh, it doesn't matter more than IQ. It's a question of balance, right? So I don't, maybe that was a slight provocation for you when we put that in the header for this session. But do keep typing. If you've got questions, just type. Um, just yeah, so I'll be looking at the chart and we'll be talking through EQ for AI. Like I said, and like Varandeep said, I work a lot with technology leaders. And I have throughout my career. I'm not a technology specialist, I'm a marketing background, but I've always been fascinated by technology and the impact that it has. Equally, I'm very interested in people's behavior and why they behave in a certain way. And so that's why I like to blend EQ with my work with technology leaders and global leaders. So, what will we look at today? What is EQ? So, we hear about it and we think we might get a bit worried. I don't know what it is. So, we'll talk a bit about what is EQ. Why does it matter when it comes to technology and especially with AI? So I remember many, many, many years ago, um, doing an IT course. When I was doing my master's degree, we had an IT course and we had to design a tool. I won't go into too much detail, but I always remember the professor saying, garbage in, garbage out. But the key with AI is if you put garbage in, the magnitude of garbage out you get is quite dangerous, right? So that's why I think we really have to be tuned into our EQ when we're working with AI and technologies that have such a huge impact. So and then we need to think about how do we activate EQ? How do I use my emotional intelligence, my emotional quotient, my emotional wisdom to make better decisions? And as we go along this, I'd like you to think about your challenges um, at work. And we will then unearth how do they relate to EQ? How can you apply EQ in those situations? And like I said, as we go along, just type in the chat if you've got any queries or questions that come to mind. If I'm not going to address them, if I am going to address them, I'll just carry on and address them later. But if I'm not, I'll just address them in the moment, if that's okay. So do keep typing. So what's your best definition of EQ? If I say, "Oh, what's EQ? What do you think EQ means?" There's no right or wrong, right? I'm just curious. What does it mean for you? Just very brief, not a big long sentence, but what would you say it means for you? Emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. And just type in the chat. And I'll give a big round of applause to the first person who types in the chat. So do type something
Yeah.
because I'm
So
not
like,
moving on. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Ready.
Excellent, 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 excellent. Oh, did someone speak?
I was just asking people that, as you mentioned, there is no right and wrong
Yeah.
answer, so they can be writing whatever comes to their mind.
Exactly. So be in the moment. That's very important in leadership. Be present in the moment. Yeah. Part of it is what am I feeling? What am I feeling? Can I recognize and name what I'm feeling? If we can't name it, it's very hard to deal with it, right? That's number one. We have to have a language around emotions. Yeah, EQ is emotional quotient. Yeah, what's the human touch? So, Chandak, that's absolutely critical. Humans are first and foremost emotional beings. We are driven by our emotions. We must, as leaders, understand that. And there's a lot of research that says we make decisions emotionally first and then tap into our thinking brain to justify the decision we think we've made rationally, but actually it was already subconsciously made, right? Feeling internally deep. What's going on inside me? Yeah, I've got to go a bit deeper. What's going on inside me? Yeah, of course, EQ. Let me understand, let me manage. So what am I going to do with this emotion? And can we control emotions? I think we can't control emotions. What we can do is once they've arisen, decide how we can control them, right? I don't know anyone who can stop an emotion arising. I mean, if you're aware that in this situation I'm likely to get angry, I can prepare myself not to, right? But can I always control or prevent an emotion arising? I don't think so. And maybe some very elevated individuals can. I've not reached that stage yet. Yeah. So emotional intelligence does include empathy. Empathy is stepping into the other person's perspective, like wearing their glasses. How are they seeing this situation? And doing what you believe is best for them in this situation. So we might talk about that in terms of how you lead your team, right? Sometimes we think, oh, well, I need to give more help to this person. And we think that empathy is, almost giving in to them, letting them have longer time to deliver something. When if it's like the third, fourth time that they're failing to deliver on time, then we have to have a different conversation. And being empathetic is helping that other person understand that, in this role, you've got to deliver to this level. Now, how are we going to work together to achieve that, right? It's not shying away from having those conversations, but great that you brought that up. Understand human behavior. Yeah. What does it mean when that person does this? So it's not just emotions are behind our actions, they're intertwined in our thoughts. If someone does something, can I understand what's going on? That's the empathy part, right? Emotional maturity is really important, right? If we've developed EQ, hopefully we're emotionally mature and we have emotional stability and we can use our emotional insight to the best effect, right? Making connections, yeah, that work for us, that work for our soul, but making connections in the very human sense of, am I connecting to that person? Am I tuned into them? Is there a connection, right? Am I feeling what's going on here? And it could be with one-on-one, or it could be in the room, right? So I do some work with 6 Seconds, which you can look at the website. There's a URL at the bottom. They're a global organization, not for profit, that work to have more people practicing emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, emotional quotient is blending thinking and feeling skills to make better decisions, to make smarter decisions. We've got to blend them both. Very simply, be smarter with our feelings. Feelings are there for a reason. We've got to understand why they've shown up. Otherwise, we're in danger of reacting or missing out on very important information, right? Yeah, and of course, you can measure EQ, like Gayatri is saying in the chat. You can measure EQ, but unlike IQ, it is not fixed. If we practice it intentionally, it will improve. Yeah. Um, and if we don't listen to our emotions, we can fall into traps, we can make bad decisions, we can avoid signals of stress, right? Our whole body needs to be tuned into what's going on. And we'll just talk a bit more about that later, how emotions, thoughts, what we do is all intertwined. So very simply, emotions are just chemicals, they're just neurohormones that are running through our body, carrying like signals, carrying energy, and they're in our cells. So they're coursing through our body. And that's why we might notice in a tense situation or when we think our boss is angry with us, we might get a bit tense, right? So we're getting all these signals. There might be a physical reaction that's tied in with an emotional feeling as well as a thought. So it's hard to unpick all of them, but just try and tune into what's going on. You'll get a sense of, oh, something's happened at my body level. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? Why am I in this state? Why am I behaving like this? Right? If we tune in, we get the data. Um, Yes, so we'll just come back to some of the comments as we go along, but just be conscious that these signals are all running through our body and they gather in the spinal cord and come up into our brain. And so they come up into the back of our brain first. And if you think of your brain as like your hand, and this is the spinal cord, the emotions, the emotional energy runs up, and the first part it hits is the amygdala, right? So this you may know as the fight, flight, freeze area. If we don't stop, pause, then we can get hijacked. You may have heard of an amygdala hijack. So you can think of your brain like as having the emotional part, which is where the emotions come into first, and we can react if we don't take a pause, right? Typically, when we're emotionally stable, we've got our thinking brain covering that part of our brain. Like we're engaging our rational brain that's at the front of our brain that developed way later than our emotional brain. But when we're triggered, we may just forget about our rational thought process and just react. Someone interrupted me. That's annoying. Someone sent me a rude email. I'm doing anger because that's one emotion we all uh, relate to, right? So just be conscious of what emotions are. That energy, we can shift that energy if we tune into it. You as leaders, if there's one thing to take away, is to recognize that emotions drive people. We don't do anything because there's a target. Right. My boss has told me to do this. We do it because we feel something like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to miss my target. Or this is an exciting project. Or my boss is going to be thrilled when I deliver this, or really annoyed if I don't, right? So there's an emotion behind what we do. So if you can tune in to what motivates people, what inspires people, you can lead people. Similarly, if you can tune into what motivates you and tune into that energy and create an environment where that emotional energy comes alive, then you're going to perform better than if you're in a state of an emotion that doesn't support you, right? So if we can motivate people, they will be more inspired to perform. And the way we motivate people may be in different ways. That's what you've got to look out for as a leader, because People are dynamic, and that's the gift of leadership, right? People aren't the same day in, day out. Different situations cause them to change in what they want, how they behave, and you've got to be observing this to know what's the best way to connect with that person at the moment, in this moment. So just remember that, not just about you, the emotions drive you. And if you don't tune into the emotions that you're feeling, you won't know why you're moving towards something or away from something. But just getting back to work, what's the number one emotion people register at work? They report feeling this more, much more, this one emotion, much more than other emotions. So to give you some emotions to work through, and maybe just look at the middle level, because there's more intense emotions at the center, the average level of emotion in the middle, and the less intense emotions on the edge. They're all degrees of intensity of the same emotion. Which would you say? Just type in the chat. Which emotion do people register feeling most at work? And I'll just go to the question by Rajendra as you're thinking through this. People have got different preferences, right? So some people are visual, some people are cerebral, some people are touch focused. Um, so you need to try and understand what a person relates to. So some people can be very visual, some people can be very verbal. They want to read something. Some people can be touched. So you evoke or use what works for people. So that's why in this presentation I've got visuals and I've got text. And I'm trying to evoke sensations too, because some people are very, very tactile, right? They relate to feelings, right? So it's not that there's one over the other. We do say a picture paints 1,000 words. We can use metaphors to bring things alive to people. You have to understand what works best with people. Anger, vigilance. No one else is writing. What's happened? Has everyone dropped off? Vigilance is so interest, anticipation, vigilance. It could be, right? If you're working on something, vigilance is very strong. I've got to pay attention to this. Got to be very careful with this. Yeah. I'm very disappointed, right? See, that's an emotion. I'm very disappointed not more people have shared the emotion that most people say they feel more, 10 times more than other emotions. I'll tell you what it is. It's a degree of anger, it's frustration or annoyance, 10 times more than any other emotion. Frustration. So as I say that, I'm expecting you to be thinking, how can I remove frustration for people I work with? How can I remove frustration that they don't know what they're doing? I can make things clearer for them. How can I remove frustration that they don't understand the importance of this technology? I can try and simplify it for them, right? Um, so frustration. I'm not getting any feedback, frustration. I'm not getting any recognition, frustration. I'm not getting clarity on what's required for my promotion, frustration, right? So there's a lot of frustration at work. What can you do to reduce it? Um, so yeah, amygdala hijack is very common that something happens, it's a trigger. We get an intense emotional reaction. One of these things in the middle, often it's like rage, I'm furious, I'm outraged at this. How come I didn't get the promotion after you were promising it me? Why was that customer so rude to me? Um, what other emotions? I want you to really reflect on this. What other emotions can have a major impact on the quality of your decisions? So emotions, whilst you're thinking about this, are not good or bad, positive or negative. It's what we do with them that can be positive or negative. So, for example, the example I use is, was Gandhiji angry at British rule? Of course. How did he channel that anger? He channeled it in peaceful resistance, right? So it's what we do with our emotions that can have a positive or a negative impact. So what are some other, if anger's the number one emotion that people feel at work, what do you think is the number two emotion? And emotions are feelings, but they're momentary. Feelings are if we dwell on the emotion, they become feelings. Mood is when we just stay in that feeling for quite some time, right? Trust, hope. That would be lovely if everyone felt trust, Prasad, right? If you can create an environment of trust, you are going to get the best out of your team. That they feel safe, that they feel confident, that they feel you've got the back, they don't know what they're doing, they can express their opinions. If you have that, you're going to get the best out of your team. But a lot of you are right. Fear is a big one. Fear, I would say, is the second emotion people feel most frequently. Uh-oh, should I speak up? My boss is about to share something that's not right. Should I speak up? Or I don't agree with my skip level boss, and I've got data that proves I'm right. Should I speak up? Right? But what if I speak up and they get annoyed? What if they get angry with me? What if they ignore me? What if they say, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Fear is huge. So I often say anger hurts other people first, but then hurts you because the other person feels bad. But then when they think about it, they think, oh, why did they get angry with me? That's so unprofessional. So it ultimately hurts us. Getting angry hurts us. But fear hurts us immediately because we miss out on opportunities. Of course, you have to weigh them up, but typically we miss out on opportunities if we're too afraid. And very often, leaders I work with are thinking, oh, should I do this? My boss wants me to take on this project, but what if I fail? Well, number one, your boss wouldn't be giving you that project if they didn't think you could do it. And two, it's not like it goes from A to Z, the end of the project, without lots of different steps. So there's always steps to recalibrate, change direction, make this project better, right? Anticipation is about interest. And looking ahead, like a sense of optimism, but it could also be a bit of annoyance, right? So that I really focus. I need to focus in this situation. So it could be that. I'm not saying it's not, but just be conscious of what you feel a lot of the time and what it means for you, and possibly what it means for your team, because your team pick up on your emotions. Emotions are contagious. If you walk in a room, people will sense what you're feeling. And they will react to it in whatever way they feel is best, right? If you walk into a room and you're visibly annoyed, they probably won't speak up much, right? Um, so just be conscious of that. You're communicating the whole time, whether you're aware of it or whether you're intentionally doing that or not. Your energy is communicating to others what you're feeling, and it impacts them. Right? So typically, I invite leaders to be upbeat and optimistic. Yeah, I know I've had a tough quarter, but we've got these skill sets, we've got this plan. Let's move ahead. I'm confident we can address the issues, right? So it's not false optimism, it's optimism with reason, right? So, what is the impact of AI without EQ? So, we're going to look a bit globally here, and I know you'll know about these case studies, but just to kind of provide a more global context. And some of these examples are not recent, so it's not like I'm saying this just happened yesterday. Oops. But for example, Google. You may remember when ChatGPT OpenAI launched, like it was the end of what was it, end of 2022, right? And Google was pretty much not there. Well, very much not there. And then they did this press conference and it backfired. And they've had several missteps, right? Um, a lot of the missteps are around the data that goes into the AI tool, right? So there's many examples, well documented, of the lack of data of on different people in terms of color has caused problems. And I meant to check before I came on, but there's a famous lady. She's of Nigerian descent, but what is at MIT now in the US, and she was a computer scientist and was doing a PhD, and was working on AI, and then she realized the computer doesn't even recognize me because she's got dark colored skin, right? And it was only until she put a white mask on that the computer recognized her. And she was trying to work on facial recognition, but the tool didn't even recognize her because there wasn't the data. And it's made many, many mistakes with people of color. So maybe Google rested on its laurels. Maybe it didn't invest. It was a leader in AI in the early 2000s. Maybe it didn't invest. Maybe it was too focused on getting more revenue from the search engine. We don't know, but they seem to be playing a catch up. Now, EQ, at some stage, they must have realized, hey, we've got all this information on AI. Why aren't we using it to improve our search engine proactively? Oh, but we're making lots of revenue. Let's not bother. It bites you. And here's some of the pitch eyes. Um, this is not related to that decision, but there were instances of racism, of lack of respect for different peoples, and he had to apologize for this. We got it wrong. We're trying to get it right. Um, this example of Air Canada, this is not so much the chatbot, but the CEO's reaction. So the chatbot gave incorrect information to a customer, and it was all around a refund policy. And the airline said, look, the chatbot's responsible for its own actions. And then Air Canada was taken to court about this. And clearly the court ruled that you are accountable for what your chatbot does because it's an Air Canada chatbot. So at least in that decision, um, companies have to, and this is important for you, be accountable for the technology they deploy. I don't even know why Air Canada would have said that. It seems a lack of EQ on the part of the leadership at Air Canada. Um, and a lack of emotional intelligence around what's the customer feeling, what's the message we're sending to our customers if we say, oh yeah, we're not responsible for this. We just installed it, it can do what it wants. What kind of message is that sending? Does that instill confidence or not? Clearly it doesn't. So yeah, I want you to be thinking of the situations you've been in where you're developing tools, you're working on AI, and you're feeling something, or this is not right, or we're moving too fast, or I'm not sure this is going to work, whatever. Just be conscious of what you've been feeling, because I'll share just a few more examples. There was so Zillow, and I know I've not used any from India so far, but maybe you can share some in the chat. They do real estate pricing, so it's a tool to share house prices. Now, the AI tool seriously misjudged the pricing of homes. Now, I've not drilled down into it, but not really doing your due diligence on house prices, not thinking of the repercussions, especially with something as impactful on people's lives as house prices, not thinking through, well, if we don't have the right data, what will this do, not just for our customers, but ultimately for me in this role and this company? It's a lack of EQ, right? Um, they lost billions, right? Billions, or at least $500 million got wiped off their stock price because of this AI pricing model. This is an old one, but it still bears repeating because if we as developers have got a bias and that bias shows through in our tool, it is amplified hugely. Now, sometimes we use data that exists because that's the only data we've got. But it doesn't mean to say that that data is right for the future. So what Amazon had done was look at its historical hiring practices and realize that they hired a lot of males. Um, and so the AI tool, the recruiting tool, was biased against women. Uh, and there's even little things like, oh, if a man plays chess, it got a big upswing, but if the woman played chess, it didn't recognize it as a useful skill. So you can imagine, yeah, it was interpreted that, oh, we don't like women. And there was another, does anyone remember the Tay from Microsoft? Does anyone remember that? So this is at least like 10 years ago, but they rushed, in hindsight, rushed to launch an AI tool and a chat tool. And within hours, it became racist. It was generating racist content. And how can I say it? Questionable, questionable responses, right? This was one of them. So they had to withdraw and, went back with their head between the tail, you know. Um, at any stage, the developer or a leader could have said, "Hey, let's just hold on this," or "Hey, we've got a leadership capability, i.e. at Google. How are we going to use that? Right? How are we going to get ahead and control this market?" Rather than just rest on the status quo of making lots of money from our search engine. Um, there's lots of other examples. I thought some of you might have typed in one from your own experience. But I'm going to share a personal example here. So I do a quiz every day, and it's from The Economist magazine. And so they have a quiz every day, and then you have to find the connection between the answers to the daily quiz. And so sometimes I just check, did I get the right answer for today? And this was the question one Thursday, you can see from the date when it was. Which human organ is contained within the pericardium? So I thought, cardium sounds like the heart. Right. But I just wanted to check. I'm not a biologist. I just thought I don't want to get the wrong organ. And this is on WhatsApp, Meta. Now they've deleted the response since, but essentially the response was, duh. I'm laughing about it now, but at the time I thought, how rude. I'm only asking you a question. What's with the attitude? And to me, it seemed massively emotionally unintelligent to respond with duh. And so I wrote, well, what's with the attitude? And then we had this conversation. And always, yeah. The point being, I don't know what had given it the sense that I would appreciate a response like that. So that's just at a very personal level. I've not used that chatbot or that Meta AI tool since. That's my stance against it because of the way it responded to me. So that's on a very personal, small level. But if you, when you're developing your tools, incur or provoke such a reaction, people can just walk away, right? So how does, in your experience, how does AI without EQ create a negative impact? And if anyone's got a story, put your hand up and we can hear from you. No one, come on, guys, you're all technology leaders. You must have experience. Oh yeah, Abhishek, I can see.
Yeah,
Can we
Abhishek.
unmute Abhishek?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. 1 second, Abhishek. I'll unmute you. Yeah,
And
you can
then
unmute
Rajendra, yeah.
yourself, Abhishek.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible to you?
Yep.
Yeah. So in India these days, I mean, most of us would be using food delivery apps a lot. Okay. Hello.
Yes, we're hearing. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah,
Carry
yeah,
on.
yeah. So, yes. So we use a lot of food delivery apps, and most of the help or responses from the food delivery apps are actually based on certain AI models which have been created and who keeps responding. So, say in case you have ordered something and it has arrived pretty late and soggy, okay, the kind of responses that you receive, okay, from the AI is is actually really very insane, okay, without any emotional quotient is what we have seen so far, okay, most of it to a certain extent. Okay, even if we want to return our food or we are not really happy with it for what we have ordered, okay, the responses are really very sad that we can't do much about it.
Great example. So you've made me think of many things there, but yeah, when you program that tool to like the empathy and just give you some factual response, it's annoying, right? And similarly, it's extrapolated in chatbots when you just go through a loop and you can't get out of that loop, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah. And
hell.
some of these responses are very, 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 very insane without any emotional or any thought of it. Okay. Especially when you have guests at home and you have ordered food for them and it's arriving at a delay. Okay. It doesn't really give any conducive responses.
Yeah. Sorry, I was waiting for you to tell me what it had said to you, but absolutely. And then you think, I'm not going to use you again. And that can happen with very serious situations. I'm thinking of the bank, when you
Mm.
can't use your credit card if you're traveling and then you get in a loop and you're stuck, you can't move, you can't get on your plane, whatever. They can have very serious consequences. Yeah, great point, Abhishek. Thank you.
Yeah. So one responses like you asked me is uh, so if you order a food and if the food delivery driver doesn't reach, they will just keep on responding on only one single loop that it's on the way and it will reach you in so many minutes. There is no element of saying that we understand that it's getting delayed and we will help you shortly. Do you need any other help with it? Just say it plainly says that it's on the way and it will get delivered in 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
after 15 minutes, if you ask the same question, if it has not arrived, it will say the same thing. That it is on the way and it will be delivered in 5 minutes. That's it. There is no
Yes, got it.
emotion to it, nothing,
Yeah.
nothing as such.
Yeah, so have the intelligence as you're programming that to know that after 15 minutes, give a different message. So just you've triggered one thought. I'm just going to share one story. When once I was trying to change a flight, and and I won't share the name of the airline, but
Hmm.
I was on the call for an hour and 20 minutes, and the message it kept playing was, "We care about our customers." That was the first word it said. We care about our customers. Clearly, you don't. I've been on the call for 1 hour and 20 minutes. That's when I hung up. But change the message if you can see someone's been on the call for that long. But
Yeah.
thank you, Abhishek. Let's move on to Rajendra. What's your example?
Yeah, the example is, the same like banking. If you look at it, a simple
Oh, sorry.
example of,
Yeah.
I'm just giving an example, simple example of I was actually trying on one of the bank to change the limit. I wanted to actually transfer the money. And there was a chatbot which said you can, ask the question. And I was so I actually put in the question and he said, sorry, I can't understand your question. And then you again rephrase the question. He says, sorry, I can't understand the question. So I personally feel, many people have probably tried to use AI in the haste to demonstrate that they have done something, but it is truly not a real service. The another example is in the retail, where one of the person he actually, asked for a parcel, and he then actually sent a message on the chat that please don't ship the parcel today because there is a emergency at home. And if the emotions would have been there, at least the chat bot would have said, "I'm sorry, I can, I actually express emotions." But the next question was, "Okay, tell me, when can I send it to you?" So I think this clearly indicates, and since your question was about impact of AI without EQ, I think, if somebody is really not capturing these emotions and framing the answers, then I think we can create really a very disappointing situation, no matter how good your AI is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move on because we've not got that much time left. I'm also trying to get you into this frame of mind of when you're developing the tool, what can happen. So I'm just putting like, oh, that's like an alert. If we don't have the right data, so like someone's saying, the Gayatri saying, it learns from us. Yeah, it learns from data as well, right? So the data could be us, how we interact with the tool, but it could also be the data on health records, the data on finance, credit limits, insurance, cases, demographics. All that is then not manipulated, but analyzed, right? But if the data's not clean, we're in a huge danger of making bad decisions, badly programming the algorithm, and having a huge negative impact at scale, right? The key with AI is at scale. It's huge and impacts our reputation, can have serious financial consequences for us, yeah? Yeah. Another, I want to think of you at work when you're pressured to, come on, this needs to be done. This tool needs to be out. And in your gut, you're feeling, uh-oh, but it's not ready. It needs more testing. I don't want to deploy this. And the EQ is tuning into that feeling of uncertainty, discomfort, worry, and saying, hey, this tool is not ready, and then speaking up and saying what is important in that moment. This tool is not ready, it needs more checking. If we deploy it in this state, there is a risk that it will give false output, that customers and our salespeople will make the wrong decisions. It'll impact our reputation and our bottom line. So tuning into that data, I feel uncertain deploying this. Yeah, it's 85% ready, but that 15% is critical. You need to speak up in that situation, right? So we have to handle that speed to deploy. But at the same time, sometimes we can be overly perfectionistic. And it isn't necessary to spend all that effort for the last 5% or whatever. So that is the challenge for you as leaders. When is it truly ready? It will deliver. There won't be negative consequences of launching this tool, right? So think about this. Think about when you're facing these situations. Mismatch of expectations. Now, everyone for the past 2 years has been talking about AI. Everything suddenly had an AI element added to it, right? So the tool depends on the strategy. As a leader, what are we trying to achieve? What's our strategy here? How can AI help? Not, oh, let's get into AI because that's the future. No, first of all, what are we trying to achieve? How can AI help us achieve it? Because there's so many tools out there. How can we use AI to achieve our objectives? Or leaders who don't understand the capacity of AI, the consequences of deploying AI, how to deploy AI, may expect too much without paying heed to the downside, right? Yeah, so that's a really good observation, Bhaskaran, when you're saying AI is a cost center. If you don't add the EQ, not just in the actual tool, but you deploy EQ in you to make the right decisions as you're developing those tools, as you're dealing with stakeholders, as you're explaining to them the costs and benefits, as you're trying to understand the business case, right? These are all things that you need to tune into so that you show up effectively as a leader. So, for example, one leader I was working with could see the benefit of AI tool being deployed for the sales team, but the sales team had other things on the mind, like meeting the targets, hiring people, getting other partners on board. And he said to me in one session, "Oh, but I've told them about AI and I've told them about this tool I'm developing, but they're not interested." Like, end of story. So I said, you've told them once. Can you maybe sit down with them again, understand what's going through their mind, and then talk them through how your tool can help them, what it takes to deploy your tool, and have that kind of conversation rather than, well, I've told them and they're not listening, so that's the end of the story, right? That requires resilience. Resilience is an emotion. It requires determination, optimism. But sometimes you have to think, oh, come on, I've got to put more effort in here. I've got to explain this at a level that they can understand. So it's blending thinking and feeling skills, not just going with our feeling that, oh, well, I told them once, I'm upset. They didn't want to be in, they weren't interested. I'm giving up on them. No, you got to be a bit more resilient because people don't understand this. And you're in an important position to explain technology, but explain it from a point of view. This is where the empathy comes in, that they can understand. They will never understand the technology. You're in a much better position to understand the business strategy. They'll understand elements of the technology. They won't understand in depth. And you've got to simplify something complex for them. Bias we touched on as a programmer, or the data that you're using, or from a user perspective. If you're biased, bias has a negative outcome, right? So as a programmer, if you only use data that favors one demographic over another, that doesn't take into consideration, there's been cases in insurance companies where people haven't got insurance because they live in this postcode without really looking at, well, what's the income? What have been the claims in the past? They've only looked at the postcode. That's not enough data to make that kind of decision. Or, for example, where AI chatbots are deployed or other tools deployed, but the user base isn't sophisticated enough to use them. By that, I'm thinking of, and again, I don't want to be biased and say older members of the population, but when I think of my parents who are in their 80s in the UK, and all the banks now are online and are pushing people to go online, they don't use a computer, they don't have a computer, they don't have a smartphone. So there's a bias against a significant user demographic, right? How are they going to access their money in the bank? So be conscious of that too. What's the user profile? We've talked about this error magnification. So that can be how you design the algorithm or the data. Just be very conscious. Like I said, garbage in, garbage out, but its magnitude's greater. And then, like I just said, sorry, that might be linked to the bias. I overlook the need or the ability. Can the person actually use this AI tool? Do they know how to use it? Are they sharing information in this AI tool that is highly sensitive, which is going to be reused elsewhere because the AI tool may be saying, we're going to take, that's part of the terms and conditions. We will be using the information you give us, right? Yeah, and so like someone saying in the chat, sometimes we replace humans with chatbots. The simple routine task, what's my balance? Fine. If the person has a computer or a smartphone and can access that. But for complex situations, will that help your customer feel good and appreciate the experience? That's a decision that has to be made. So yeah, AI can scale things absolutely, but it also scales the consequence of the decisions we made. And yet, this is all ultimately about the reputation, right? Do customers trust you? What's the word of mouth about you? Does it impact your bottom line? The mistakes that we make. So I don't know how much longer we can stay on, but if IQ makes AI powerful, what does EQ make it? Well, hopefully EQ makes it appropriate, responsible, accountable. Could make it more humane. Hopefully it does, because who's the technology serving? Ultimately, it's people, right? Ultimately, it's people or things people care about. So I just wanted to quickly go through a few EQ terms, right? So you as a leader, you as a technology leader, or you, even if you're not a technology leader, your brain has preferences. Now you've got to understand this to use your brain effectively. So I'm just going to cover quickly 3 areas, and you've got to think, where does my brain go first? So your brain has preferences for rational data or emotional data. That's the data focus. So remember, emotions are data, rational thinking, facts, figures, it's data. Where does your brain go first? If your brain goes to rational data, it's looking at the numbers, it's looking how many people are in the room, do we have enough chairs? What's the spreadsheet saying? If your brain goes first to emotional data, it's feeling the vibes in the room. What's the energy? Is it an uplifting energy? Are people down? Who's not sitting next to who? So rational data is about facts and logic, and emotional data is about feelings and vibes. So you've got to know where your brain goes first. So if your brain goes more to rational data first, put an R in the chat. If your brain goes first to emotional data, put an E in the chat. Where does your brain go first? What do you notice first? It doesn't mean to say you don't notice the other side of the data, the other data. Okay, quick. Come on. I want to see what you say, because we've done research into this and I want to see if you're representative. Okay. So 3 out of 4 have said rational, or 2 out of 3 have said rational. And that is actually what the data shows on India. Indian professionals, this is a survey among Indian professionals carried out with 6 seconds, almost 70% the brain goes first to rational data. What does that tell us? It tells us that, right, we might be very logical, we're looking at the facts and the figures, but we're also in danger of leaving a lot of data on the table. Remember, because people are emotional beings, emotions drive people, people drive performance. If we're not tuning into that emotional data in ourselves or in other people, that is visible in other people, we're missing the opportunity to drill down. What do I mean? I gave you the example of anger. Anger is an emotion. I have to stop and say, well, what's driving that anger? What does it mean? It means something's wrong. Something's calling my attention. And I can move towards things with anger. I might stop pushing, getting annoyed with someone, shouting. Other emotions like fear, I move away. Fear is an emotion that takes me away from something. I won't do that project. I won't speak up. I won't put up my hand for that promotion, right? You've got to drill down. What does this emotion mean? What's it trying to tell me? Is it valid? Do I need to act on this emotion, or do I need to do something different? Right? So whatever you're feeling, name it. What's it mean? What's it trying to tell me? What do I want to do with that insight? Right? How do I want to use that insight? That's when you have to engage your rational brain, right? Think it through. Decisions. Either we evaluate a lot, we're evaluative, we avoid loss. We don't want to lose anything. We don't want to, take risks. We avoid loss, we avoid risks. Innovative decision making means we seek opportunities. There's no right or wrong. It's just where our brain goes. So we're more open to change. We may take risks, but we usually, if we're more towards the middle, we might think through it a bit before we jump in. There's no right or wrong. We need both types of brain, but just think, where are you? Are you evaluative? Are you innovative? When do you, jump in too quickly? When do you not jump in and take too long to evaluate and miss opportunities, right? So you got to balance this because tech is a fast moving space, right? So the first thing to decide is, what's the repercussions of this decision? Is it in Amazon, they say a one-door decision or a two-door decision. A one-door decision means you can't really come back from this easily. Two-door decision, well, we can work our way through it. It's not the end of the world if something goes wrong. So they say one-door decision, get the data, be very, very sure. Two-door decision, to avoid, losing out on an opportunity, move ahead quickly. So, just be conscious of how you're making decisions. Oh, I forgot to ask, but India's brain preferences are largely evaluative, loss avoiding, risk avoidance, right? Protecting, as opposed to jumping in and giving things a go. I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying be conscious that many people may have that brain style, brain preference. How do you get them to see the opportunity if you're on the innovative side? How do you, if you've got a more evaluative decision-making approach, think, well, what is the risk here? Is there more of a risk if I don't take action? Final thing is drive. What motivates me? Is it action now, like practical, let's get moving, let's deliver results in the moment? Or is it like a long-term vision that motivates me to act, right? You just got to know there's no right or wrong. Are you more practical in terms of what motivates you? I want to deliver this now. I'm excited about this project now. It's important to solve today's problems now. Or are you more excited about the future? This is what we can deliver in the future. And that's what motivates you. Oh, okay. So we've got three practicals. Everyone else seems to have lost the use of the hands. This is interesting. Oh, many of you are in the here and now. Let's take action now. Let's vote. That's what motivates me delivering results now. Oh, sorry, because the Indian brain is more motivated, according to our research, by the long term. So you guys who are practical, be conscious of making sure people know the vision, know the future. Hey, what we're doing now is this. This is what we're going to be delivering because of this in the future. So tie the present to the future, tie the future to the present, so that you're including everyone. I'm going to stay on a bit longer because there's just a few more things I want you to think about. I want you to just think about a time when you felt something was off, where you knew in your gut, or you sensed something's not right, and you had it like, oh, just a strong reaction. It might have been annoyance, it might have been fear, it might have been disgust, could have been anything, but you really felt something strongly. It might have been excitement, right? It might have been misery. The key is, when you have a strong emotional reaction, before you do anything, what do you have to do? You have to pause. You cannot make a good decision when you're in a heightened state of emotion, whether it is excitement or misery. You must bring emotional stability. Why? Because we make bad decisions when we're in a heightened state of emotion. When I'm super happy, I say, oh, yeah, let's go ahead and do this project when I've not evaluated it. Oh, yeah, let me go and buy that new car. I'm very happy today, right? Similarly, when we're afraid, we think we look on the dark side of things. We look on the gloomy side of things, or this won't work out, instead of looking at objectively at something. So we have to pause, hit the pause button. Sorry, I know I'm just going to take another 5 minutes, if that's okay. We've just got to tune in. What are you feeling? What does it mean? What's that trying to tell you? Don't judge it. It's not good or bad. Just be with the feeling. What are you thinking? Are those thoughts valid? Are they objective? Then these are the three questions. Right now, when you've become emotionally stable, what's the options? There's many options. List them down. In any situation, there's many options. List them down. Then ask yourself, what do you really want in this situation? And when we practice this, we get better and better at it. All right, my boss has told me to do this project. I've got 3 others. I know I can't do it. I can't lean on my team. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling stressed. My options are to say no. My options are to negotiate with my boss. My options are to resign, right? There's many options. But what do you really want? I want to talk to my boss and say, hey, I can do this, but I can't do that. So how are you going to do that? What's your best next step? Okay. These are the 3 questions I want you to think about. Pause. What are you feeling? What's it mean? What are the thoughts? Are they valid? Right. Once you've got a grip, what are my options? What do I really want? What's the best next step? So, what are your challenges? If anyone wants to share, you can, but I'm really conscious of wrapping up. So, I'll just say some challenges that you may face, and we've talked a bit through them. Tune into what you feel, then think through it, then make the decision based on what you believe is the best thing to do in that situation. And remember, EQ, blending your thinking and feeling, is the skill that differentiates star performers from average performers in senior leadership levels. So develop your EQ. Before we wrap up, I know Varandeep's come back on. What's one thing you're going to do differently? As a result of what you've heard today, what's one thing you're going to do differently? What's one thing you'll do to improve your EQ? Well, EQ is part of IQ, blend EQ with IQ. You've all got IQ. You're all doing very well with your IQ. The differentiator is the EQ now. How am I tuning into what my feelings are, what other people's feelings are? How am I showing empathy? How am I making better decisions based on that insight, right? Pause, pause, pause. Hit the pause. If you can only remember that, that will be very important. Pause and then choose consciously. Don't react. A lot of the time, your reaction's fine, but 5% of the day, according to research, you need to hit that pause button seriously and choose how you respond, right? So excellent. Any questions? Sorry, Varandeep. I know we've gone over, but it's such a lovely audience.
Okay. Yeah. It's such an insightful session. Had it been not evening, probably we would have continued for long as well. Yeah. So anyone having any questions, any suggestions, inputs, they can type in chat.
Right? Yeah, you can chat or
Yeah, you can.
And thank you everyone for staying and hopefully learning something that you can apply. The key is application, right? You've got to take something that you realized and apply it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Please promise me you'll do that.
Right. So the question is from Rajesh is how EQ can be used for
a compatibility quotient. Do you mean like, is this the right person for this role? Is that what you mean? Or will I get on with this person?
Rajesh, you want me to unmute you?
What does that mean, compatibility quotient? So will I get on with this person? Okay. So 2 things to remember here. Naturally, we're attracted to people who are like us. Same behavior, same experience, right? But the value comes from being with people who are different to us. And that can be just at the very simple behavioral level. So there's some people who come with lots of ideas, excited, let's give things a go. And there's some people who come with a lot of reflection, analytical capability, thoughtful, quiet, reflective. These 2 make a great fit, right? So you may not be the same in terms of your behavioral preferences or your styles, your behavioral styles, but you add more value if you're different. So similarly, people who are very direct and task oriented don't gel with people who are very people oriented and harmony seeking and consensus seeking, right? But they create a good fit because they're opposites. So if we can talk around this and use a language that respects all the different benefits different behavior styles have in our team, then we can get the most out of the team because we can make non-similar people work very well together if we respect what they bring to the team. I hope does that answer your question? So it's an interesting question, but you have to use your EQ to get the best out of those people. And not get impatient with them, because we tend to get impatient with people who aren't like us. Yeah? Great question. Thank you. Thank you.
So anyone having any inputs or any questions? Or maybe you can let us know how was the session. So I think from the chat box entry, it is clear that they liked the session really well and they enjoyed it and got a lot of insights, especially that you have backed everything with a lot of data and insights and research, which makes the data and believing in that particular bit and credibility.
Yeah, we have to blend, right? The hard fact with the the emotional data. It's all data. Don't differentiate one between the other. They're all data. What we do with it that matters. Yeah. So thank you, Varandeep, for having me.
Thank you, Andrea, and we really are thankful and grateful to you for such an insightful session.
Thank you. All the best,
to have
everyone.
You. Okay, take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye bye, guys.
Bye.